This is Notes in the Margin, a podcast for people who are super excited about writing their non-fiction book, but perhaps, just perhaps, aren't quite doing it. If you always feel called to tile the bathroom or clean the toilet instead of writing your book, you are in the right place. Your host, Vicky Quinn Fraser, has been there, done that, and has literally written a book about it. Join Vicky and her husband Joe as they make notes in the margin about creativity, writing techniques, publishing, and general shenanigans, and get tips and tricks to help you write your book. Hello and welcome to Notes in the Margin. I'm Vicky Quinn Fraser.
Hello, and I'm Joe.
I don't know what happened then.
I don't know what happened.
I'm very excited. I've had a very exciting day.
What's been going on?
I'm really hungry.
Okay, well. It's going to be one of those.
And we haven't done a podcast together for a little while.
We did last week.
No, we didn't. I did a repod.
Did you?
Yeah. I think it was a week before. Feels like a long time. January is doing that thing where you've had Christmas and then January lasts for 6 months.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Way too long. Way too long.
And we didn't take the Christmas tree down until like 2 days ago because I refused, because I was like, it just makes me feel smiley to look at the Christmas tree, so we're just going to leave it up. And so we did, but now it's down.
Now it's down.
Yeah. And I need more fairy lights in my life. Father Christmas brought me some fairy lights. You need to help me put them up.
They need to go up, yeah.
Anyway, hi, welcome to Notes in the Margin. It's lovely to have you sit down, grab yourself a cup of tea. Don't do that if you're driving. Continue to concentrate on the road. Happy New Year. I'm hungry.
Well, this is looking really disjointed so far.
What are you reading, Joe?
I'm reading Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey, which is the pen name of two other chaps, Daniel Abram and Ty Frank. It's the first book in a series, and my cat is now standing outside the door, looking in, really offended.
He looks really alarmed. He's got his ears kind of half back and he's squeaking at us.
He really wants to be let back in.
Oh.
He looks really upset.
Oh, mate.
Okay. But it's apparently, I'm only 100 pages in, but apparently it's award-winning sci-fi, and it's been turned into a Amazon Prime thing, which I'm probably at some point going to try and make you watch.
Okay. We're about to finish How to Get Away with Murder, and that makes me feel a bit anxious because I love it so much. And
it's utterly ridiculous.
I love it so much, though. The acting is amazing, and Viola Davis is incredible. And
everybody says, it's like in the casting part of the whole process of making this thing, they were just like, "Are you okay?" Crying in every episode. Show us your snotty face.
I mean, it's quite angsty.
And everybody was just like, they've just employed a whole bunch of actors who are really good at crying and being snotty.
That's not true.
That really is.
That's just one small facet of the show.
It's like people crying on each other.
Oh, it's so good. I really love it. Shush.
Complicated reasons to cry.
Just shush. It's great. So yeah, we do need a new show, so I can watch that.
Any recommendations, please email them to us.
Yes. What else was I going to
What are you reading?
I am currently reading Unseen Academicals by Terry Pratchett.
Okay.
Which is one of only 2 Discord books that I've never read. Now,
because of the football thing.
Because of the football thing, yeah. Which is stupid because I knew it wouldn't be about football because it's Terry Pratchett, but I resisted reading it. And the other book I haven't read yet because it's the last one in the Discord series, and I can't bring myself to read it yet because there's never going to be another one, and that makes me want to cry. I will read it at some point. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it because obviously it's about football, but it's not about football. It's about people and, tribalism and all of that kind of thing. So it's great and I'm loving it.
Good.
I'm also reading 6 different non-fiction books at the moment, so I'm just not even gonna go there.
Is there some point at which you are reading so many books at once that you're reading no books?
Yes, there is.
Have you reached that point?
Yes, I have. Yes. So I'm gonna have to sort that out. And before we go on to what's been going on at the Dingle this week, I just wanted to say hi, Ade.
Hi, Ade.
Because I was talking to her earlier, and she thinks you're great, as everybody does.
Well, I mean, it's.
Don't be obnoxious about it.
Thanks.
So yeah, friends of the podcast, hello, lovely people. So I feel like I shouldn't want to shout out somebody different every day. So if you would like me to every day
Every podcast.
I'm very hungry.
You are very hungry.
Yeah. So yes, yay, Ade. Hi. I hope you enjoy this episode too. It's been really, really very low quality so far. So we'll try and improve that.
Yeah, about now.
Yeah. What's been going on at the Dingle, Joe?
Tiling.
We've nearly finished the bathroom. Oh my God.
Jeepers, creepers.
The tiling looks gorgeous.
I mean, we borrowed a tile saw off somebody very kind and generous, and then it stopped working. And then, so we had to go and buy one, and it turns out the one we bought is actually a bit better than the one we borrowed. So morally, do we have to give them the new tile saw, or do we just give them their broken one back and say, sorry about that?
Give them the new and broken one. Oh my God. And you know that.
I know.
So yes, anyway, I've had multiple baths. It's been amazing. Tiling is nearly finished. Got bits and pieces. We're about to box in the loo bit and fit the toilet.
That'd be amazing.
Oh my gosh. And then we're going to be into what I think is the fun bit, which is like mirrors and shelves and pretty things and plants. Just going to press pause for 1 second. We are back in the room after letting Noodle in. This podcast is going to be backed up by little Noodle sneezes.
Punctuated by cat sneezes.
Because he's got the sneezes, haven't you? Yeah. So, there we go. Noodle's got the sneezes. He hasn't got a cold. We think he's just got some grass stuck up his nose or something. So this is going to be fun. Okay, right. This podcast is all about... it's taking me way too long to get here.
We're 6.5 minutes in.
I feel like we should just abandon ship. I'm really sorry, listeners. I mean, you should ask for your money back, honestly.
Yeah.
It's a good job this is free. So this is all about 5 weird things you can do to boost creativity. And now I've written that clickbaity title. It's not clickbait. But now I'm like, I don't think these things are actually that weird. So I'm just going to share 5
things you can do. 5 things you could do.
Yeah. But then I thought maybe I could put you on the spot and get you to come up with weird shit, like on the fly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, okay. Thing number 1. Oh no, I had a little preface first.
Oh.
I know, I'm terrible. The most interesting people are kind of weird, and so are the successful ones. I'm reading from my notes now. So here are a few ways that you can get weird about your writing. If you want to become a successful non-fiction author, write all the damn time in weird ways and in weird places.
Okay.
Did you like my radio voice?
No, not really.
No, nor did I.
It sounded like serious person reading thing.
No, I don't like it.
Okay, so
moment of self-loathing.
Get weird about your writing.
Yeah. So first thing that you can do, and I love doing this is a lot of fun, is eavesdropping on conversations in public places.
Okay.
And writing notes about it. Don't record people.
That's not cool.
That's not cool. That's a bit weird. And also don't lurk outside people. Don't lurk outside private places. I'm talking about if you're in a cafe, just I listen to people's conversations. I try not to look too obvious about it, but I feel like people know. And yeah, just eavesdrop. Think about, what might you learn? What stories will you hear that people are telling you about their lives? Or make up stories about people. I used to quite enjoy doing that. It's like, oh, that couple over there, they look like they're spies. So that can be quite fun as well. And maybe you'll learn something new about your local area or about the area that you're in or just about, people in general. So yeah, what ideas will that prompt? Write everything down that you hear in note form because you won't remember it. I always regret not writing down cool stories. And then, see where it takes you. Anything to add to that, Joe? Do you like eavesdropping?
I do quite like eavesdropping. First dates are always fun. You sit in a restaurant and somebody's having a really awkward first date.
Yes.
Oh.
There's a couple of those in Canada, weren't there?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there was a couple that you thought was a first date. And I was like, I don't think that's a first date. Because they were I don't know. And then dates where both people are on their phone.
Yes. And you're just guys, just give up. Just go home.
That just makes me sad.
Just knock it on the head and go home.
Yeah.
It's not working.
I know. And I mean that literally is a snapshot in time. It's maybe they don't usually spend the whole day each on their phone, but it just makes me feel sad when I see it. So, okay. Thing the second, take up a creative but non-writing hobby and create stuff.
Take up a creative, non-writing hobby.
Yeah.
Create stuff.
Yeah. So
Knitting, macrame.
Yeah. I mean, I did say one of the things that I want to learn this year, because I don't like doing New Year's resolutions because they hurt my brain.
Because they're bullshit.
And they don't work for a variety of reasons. But I do like sort of saying this year I would like to learn this thing. And so for the last couple of years, it's been Spanish, which I'm still doing. And this year I decided I wanted to learn how to knit because my friend Ed knits amazing jumpers and I have commissioned him to knit me an amazing jumper.
He is a creative knitter.
He's just a creative, multi-talented, amazing human. Like, he's an incredible painter as well, and singer and music maker and hoopist and poler and trapezist. He hardly ever does pole, and then he gets on a pole and he just looks like the most amazing poler in the world. It's very...
Bit of a git, really.
Awesome and annoying, yeah. But yeah, Ed knits, and he offered to teach me how to knit, but he lives a long way away from me now, so I don't know how that's going to happen. So I'm going to teach myself to knit. Okay. Yeah,
I think there's definitely going to be some basic instruction out there to get you knitting things.
Yeah, and also I'm going to make models because...
when is it that you're going to knit? Because...
When I'm watching telly.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think that'll work?
Maybe. We'll see. I'm going to be utterly obsessed with knitting for like a month, and then I'm going to have like balls of wool and knitting needles just sitting in my cupboard. Yeah. Because that's how I roll.
Can I give you the warning that if, whilst you're knitting, you look up every 30 seconds and say, what? What did he say? What's happening now? I missed that bit. Hang on a minute. Can we go back? I'm going to stop watching telly with you.
But that's how I watch TV.
It is. You're absolutely infuriating when it comes to a face you vaguely recognise.
Look, okay, so I know that I'm not the only one with this quirk, this feature. If I see somebody whose face I vaguely recognise on a TV show, I cannot rest until I have found out what it was that I saw them in. Like, I don't know how you can sit there and go, yeah, I vaguely recognise that person, and then just carry on watching. Like, I don't get that. How can you do that?
What you do is you just carry on watching and just be fine with it. It's like, oh yeah, this is an actor I've seen somewhere before. It's okay.
Okay, well...
Whereas Vicky has to stop the whole world and get on IMDb and start searching around and then discover that this person actually played a vampire in 1987 in Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 2.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer didn't start until 1992.
Okay. 1993, Season 2, Buffy.
Yeah, and
Episode 6.
It will have been one episode as well for like half an hour. God, I'm super annoying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, so yes, back in the room, you could take up a creative but non-writing hobby. And so for me, trapeze and pole dancing is awesome because I don't just do it for fun, I also teach it, also for fun. Like, I wouldn't teach if it wasn't fun. But one of the things that I've started doing in the last 6 to 12 months is choreographing actual whole songs worth of pieces for people. And I was so scared before I started doing it. Like, I was like, I don't want to do this. I just want to teach people moves. I don't want to choreograph to music. And then when I started doing it, I absolutely fell in love with it. And so last night I was teaching dance trapeze, which is spinning trapeze from a single point. And it's the first time we've done this class at the studio because it's always been static. And I wanted to do a dance trapeze class because it's the best. It's better than every other type of trapeze. And so I have chosen You Should See Me in a Crown by Billie Eilish as the song, which is a great banger. And I have choreographed this, like I say to myself, it's absolutely gorgeous routine. I'm really pleased with it because I never quite know how it's going to look. Like, because I do it in my head and then I do it on the trapeze. I do it in my head and then I put it on paper and then I do it on the trapeze. And I never quite know how it's going to look. And so, but just like yesterday, everybody nailed it. And it was just so glorious to watch. And I was like, I nearly cried because I was like, oh my God, I made this. And then I just kind of made the framework and then people took it and made it their own, made it amazing. But it was just like really cool. And it's telling a story via the medium of dance. And it's not so different from telling a story via the medium of words on paper. So you can yawn if you want. You should have seen the face Joe was making then. It was hilarious. He was doing his I'm trying not to yawn face.
I'm very glad we're not doing the videoing anymore.
I wish we were. So choreography, musicality, storytelling in a different medium, connecting with an audience via movement and facial expression and physical energy, because you're not just like performing. It's not just kind of I'm doing this thing like isolated from everything. It's like building a connection with the audience and making them feel something. And you know this, it's like the best, you know, somebody can be technically brilliant on a pole or a trapeze, and yet it's kind of boring to watch them because they just make no connection with the people watching. Whereas somebody might be a little bit sloppy, you know, not able to, you know, do massive moves.
Do things that are technically much easier.
But they'll have you in tears. Like they'll literally have you in tears by the end of their piece because they've just made that connection with you. And for me, that's much more interesting. So yeah, take up a creative hobby. Like what else could you think of? You do BJJ. Do you find that creative?
It's very creative, yeah.
Oh, tell me why. BJJ is basically struggle cuddles. It's basically rolling around, getting super sweaty with other sweaty people and then trying to pull their head off.
Yeah. Well, it's a very creative endeavour.
Brazilian Jiu Jitsu for people who don't know what BJJ is. Go on.
Well, it's like you learn interesting little techniques off whoever's teaching, and then you're let loose on a struggling person to try and pull their head off. But you can never actually achieve the thing that you've been taught to do. You know, the techniques are great, but they don't. You know, the textbook kind of moves don't work against people who are trying not to have their head pulled off.
Yes, because they'll try hard not to.
Because they'll try hard not to allow you to do that, and they're busy creating their own things and going through their own stuff.
So you have to improvise.
So you end up improvising and connecting, you know, this thing to that thing in an interesting way, and doing all kinds of kind of weird transitions between positions that you've got techniques to work in. It does all join together to be quite creative and violent and unpleasant and all that. Yeah.
I'm looking at your eyes now. Your right eye, I think, is a little bit black eye.
Yeah, I'm kind of scuffed up at the moment.
Yeah. Joe's just got his blue belt, which is really awesome.
That's pretty cool.
And so now he gets to fight the bigger boys, and they are meaner.
Yes. Yeah, I rolled with the Latvian locomotive last night, which was fun.
It just cracks me up every time. Why is he called the Latvian locomotive?
He comes from Latvia, and he's very big. It's like being hit by a train. I don't know. He chuffs a lot.
Does everyone call him that, or is it just you?
No, everyone calls him that. That's how he's known.
What do they call you?
Old Joe.
Old Joe? Oh, no. Why are you Old Joe?
Because there's Big Joe.
Right. Yeah, Big Joe.
And there was Judo Joe.
Oh, okay.
And I'm the other one.
Well, that's just Joe then, surely.
Old Joe.
Old Joe. That seems a bit unfair. Anyway, but yeah, so that's... And do you know what? I'm also going to link BJ... Can you hear Noodle in the background?
Sneezing away.
I'm also going to link to what I do from BJJ, because a few years ago I learned to draw cartoons. And the final... Do you not remember the gift that I gave you?
I do remember, yeah. Oh, right. Sorry, that's the connection you're making. Sorry, I was...
Yes. Oh, I'm really hurt now. So my final piece that I did in my cartooning course, which was Sean D'Souza's cartooning course, and was amazing. Hi, Sean. Is that I decided that I was going to make Joe a book for Christmas, and it was going to be based on Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And so I got Derek the Donkey, who was my cartoon character, and he was learning the basic tenets of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and I turned it into a little cartoon book for you, didn't I?
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, I don't think you've ever looked at it. So.
I totally have.
Anyway, yes, so that's what I did.
Creative things. Do creative stuff.
Yeah.
Do disassociated creative things.
I'll see where they lead you. Because you use this in your business all the time, don't you? Because you work in all different environments, in different industries, and you cross-pollinate from that, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. You do something that's based in automotive, in food production, and they think you're a wizard. Because
they're inside their box.
Everybody's inside their own little cage doing their own thing.
Yeah.
And we get to see all of the cages.
Yeah.
All of the boxes.
And so, like, within this, actually, that's a really good kind of example, because it's almost like different genres. You're doing what you do, but in a different genre.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you're ever thinking, I want to write non-fiction, then go and explore poetry and fiction and script writing. because and songwriting, and I write a haiku every Friday and send it to my friend Ed, just because, and he sends me one. It's just what we do. Hi
Ed.
Hi Ed. And so yeah, explore those other genres as well, because creative nonfiction is just, I think it's just one of the most versatile genres, because you can bring everything into it. You can bring fiction, you can bring poetry, you can bring songwriting, you can bring all of that into it, because it's very kind of loose and accommodating, much like my t-shirts.
I wondered where you were going with that sentence.
I think you should stop pointing that face at me. Okay, so thing number 3, speaking of locomotives, take a long train journey.
As long as they're not on strike.
As long as they're not on strike. And I fully support the train strikes, by the way, because the bastards in charge are shitheads. So go train drivers, but also it's annoying because it's stopping us. But don't blame the train, don't blame the strikers, blame the rich people who want you to blame the strikers.
Yes.
So anyway, train journeys are fabulous places to write, especially if you can afford a first class ticket. And if you can't, then, and I'm one of those people, it's not that I can't, I refuse to pay that much for a first class ticket, but Seat Frog is a really good app. And if you've got a train ticket booked and you're going on a relatively long journey, you can use Seat Frog and upgrade to first class for like 10 quid, because they sell off the unsold seats.
The unsold seats they sell off last minute.
Yeah. And so I've been all the way to Edinburgh on a first class 10 quid, or I think 15 quid first class ticket before.
Nice.
And it was so cool. So yeah, first class is brilliant, but make sure you book yourself a seat and a table. Try and go at a time that isn't busy, and just go on a train journey for, no other reason than to go on a train journey. I find it a really nice change of environment to write. It's a great place for eavesdropping. You can just watch the world go by. And if you go up to Edinburgh, oh my God, the scenery is amazing, because you go through the Lake District and, all of that. So I didn't get much writing done during that part. I just stared out the window. And it's just, you get a rhythm. Like the train has a rhythm as it moves as well. And that can, I know it sounds weird, but that can be really helpful for writing, because you pick up that rhythm, and writing should be rhythmical. So that's really cool as well. And, did you know that there are magnetic trains that levitate?
Yes.
I did not know that until yesterday.
Okay.
Like, I knew that there was such a thing called maglev. I did not know it stood for magnetic levitation, which is fucking magic.
What did you think it meant?
It should just be like magic trains. I don't know. It was one of those words that I just heard and was like, oh, it's a type of train. I didn't really think anything about it. But yeah, magnetically levitating trains, man.
I mean, I'm sure we've been doing that since like the 60s or something, haven't we?
But it's magic. And it propels them forwards as well. Like, I was learning magnets are basically magic. They are.
Just giving you my face now.
I was listening to a whole podcast about magnets and how they work, and it's like, that's bonkers. Anyway.
But there's not many things that work like that, are there?
No.
That we kind of physically interact with. Until
Einstein did E = mc squared and exploded quantum physics into the world, magnets should not have existed. They should not have been a thing. They're not physically possible according to the rules of classical physics, because you twiddle a thing over here and then over here the other thing twiddles. It's like, that's literally magic. I can't think of a better explanation of what is magic. Magnets. Until you know, and that's why they created the magnetic field. Because it had to be a field that it sat in.
Fill the space in that gap.
Yeah, and it's a model, but it's not how it works. So, don't ask me how it works, because I don't know, because it's magic. But I love magnets. Okay, so, and you see where that, little segue took us from writing on trains to rhythms to magnets and magic. And that's how this creativity thing can work. It's like making connections and doing, going and learning about things that just for the sake of it. It's like, I know that going down my research wormholes is ridiculous, and my ADHD bouncing off interesting things can be really frustrating, but it can also be a source of just amazing ideas as well, because I know so much useless crap about so many things. I've got notes on all of this stuff, and I'm never going to be short of something to write about ever, and that's very cool. Okay, thing the 4th. Lie underneath a glass table and look at stuff from underneath.
Okay.
I mean, that's kind of a metaphor from shifting your perspective.
Shift your perspective.
Yeah. And also, when we were at my mum and dad's on Boxing Day, there was a lot of people in the room, and I find that difficult. And so
including loud and shrieky children.
Loud and shrieky everybody. So I lay with my head underneath their glass coffee table and just kind of was messing with my phone, but also just looking at stuff from underneath. Do you remember that time when I took a recreational drug and lay underneath the coffee table and just was like, oh, look at that?
Yes, I do.
That was really fun. That was really fun and a long time ago. It was a really long time ago, actually.
It was a very long time ago.
Yeah. Shifting perspective. Do you ever shift your perspective deliberately? Not for a very long time.
It's been a while. Yeah, I mean, looking at things from other people's perspectives, looking at things, not in terms of how are you going to solve this problem, but, where is the thing? How does it interact with other people? Where are the connection points?
And you can take it to an extreme, because I was reading, and I can't remember the name of the author now. I'll try and dig it out and put it in the show notes. I'm not going to remember to do that. But he was writing about, I can't remember what he's writing about. Anyway,
oh my God.
He became a badger.
Right.
And so it was immersive research. And so this is part of my master's degree that we're talking about immersive research.
Did he eat worms?
He literally did. Oh. I know. And he and his son dug a badger set. I think they kind of fudged it a bit for safety reasons, because you don't want Earth collapsing on you and then, so they kind of fudged it a bit, but they went and lived literally like badgers in this badger set, and they slept like badgers and they drank from the stream. I hope they did not get Vile's disease. And this was his, he wanted to see the world from the point of view of a badger, and not just I'm going to imagine it, but I'm literally going to go and live in a badger set for a couple of days. But what he came up with, his writing was really vivid, really interesting, different from anything else that I've seen about writing from the point of view of an animal, because of course it's never going to be, you're never going to be a badger, but you just get that little bit closer. And so what can you write? What perspective can you take in your writing to just shift a little bit? I've got another example that isn't quite so extreme. So there was an actress in the early 1900s, late 1800s, the world's most famous actress. Even back then, she was known worldwide, before the internet, which is a bit boggling. And her name was Sarah Bernhardt. And she was beloved by everybody. She was a single mom at that time, of Jewish extraction as well at that time, famous, and just an extraordinary woman, way ahead of her time. And she was a massive fan of hot air ballooning, because this was in the golden age of air ballooning, when people were just we can do this thing. And, just after it was horribly dangerous, when they decided to try hydrogen, and before, it got a bit commercial. And so she wrote this, she was asked to write an account of hot air ballooning by a publisher. And so she was a bit I've not got time for this bullshit. And so she did it, but she wrote it from the point of view of the chair that she sat in.
Whilst hot air ballooning.
Okay. And so it's basically a little autobiography of a chair. And it's so good and it's so interesting. And it's only a very small book. I can't remember what it's called, but if you search for Sarah Bernhardt hot air ballooning, you will absolutely find it. And I found that via Julian Barnes's little memoir on grief called Levels of Life, because he wrote, when his wife died, he wrote about the grief, but he wrote about the 3 levels of life. So air, earth, and underneath earth. So when you're dead. And the air part was all about, it was like a little study on hot air ballooning and the people who did it in the early days. And Sarah Bernhardt was one of them. And it's just, so those shifts in perspective. So you can write about grief, sure, but the way he wrote about it was different. He put these 3 levels of life together and went from, total, freedom of hot air ballooning and all of that interesting stuff, all the way down to earth, all the way down to the grief that he was buried by. And it's just an amazing little book. So I hope you find that interesting and useful. I feel like I've just monologued.
That's cool. It's good stuff.
Should I turn that into a TED Talk? Maybe I could do a TED Talk one day. Maybe.
What would you do it on?
That. Weird shit you can do to get creative, but then drift off into a connection. I don't know.
Tangent in 100 different directions.
Yeah, tangent. I could do it on tangents. I could do it on, this is my brain's superpower. It's also a bit of a curse, but also a superpower. Okay, the other thing, instead of writing, you think, I've got to do some writing today. draw or doodle or sing. That can be a really cool thing to do. So I've already mentioned my haikus, my terrible haikus, but add like another medium. So like I make up songs all the time, don't I?
You do.
And I make up songs to like narrate what I'm doing and where I'm doing it, and
like the pie song.
The pie song, and the, you know, I've got to clean out the chicken song, and the why won't the cat stop meowing song, and the I need a poo song. Actually, that was Sarah's song.
Yes. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. So yeah, but yeah, make up songs, draw your ideas, doodle your ideas, do something, you know, maybe sculpt them, lie on the floor and like interpretive dance them. Do something a little bit different and see what happens. Just see what happens. Like that's literally, I think, my mantra for this year is see what happens. Do something, see what happens.
Do stuff.
Do stuff, see what happens. Don't wait for the perfect time and place. Don't think writing has to look just one way. Get weird about it and do something that makes you happy. Because the world, and this is kind of following on from another conversation that I had earlier that I can't really talk about yet. I'm very, very excited about it. But like, I think it's pretty clear now that I have a bit of a beef with the traditional publishing industry for a variety of reasons, not least because of, you know, upholding white supremacist patriarchal nonsense, but also because everything they publish fits into a really safe formula of, you know, we know this works, we know it sells, this is how we're going to do it. And if you come out with anything that's a bit weird, it's very rare that it gets published. If you've got a big platform and you're a famous person, then you can pretty much get anything published. And I'm no shade on people who, you know, who get the weird stuff published. I'm like, that should be available to everybody. And so I just think we're missing out on a lot of really cool ideas and books that break the rules that have been set up by a bunch of people that want to make a profit. And of course we all want to make a profit.
Got to pay the bills. Got to
pay the bills. Absolutely got to pay the bills. But by just narrowly focusing on that and playing it safe, we're just missing out on so much stuff. You know, we really are. And I think it's funny because it's almost paradoxical that we've got all of this like incredible resource at our disposal. And yet I think it's becoming more difficult to become, you know, to break the rules and be a bit weird about stuff, because it's, if anything, there's even more pressure to conform, and
there's more criticism and more exposure and
yeah, and just more rules, and especially when you get bigger, you know, people worry about all sorts of stuff. They worry about cancel culture, which is not a thing, by the way. It's not a thing. It's called consequences. Jeremy Clarkson hasn't been cancelled. He just got fired for being a dick. But yeah, there's like, people do worry about that. And I just don't think we need to. I think we need to be more us. So Joe's just made the wrap it up symbol with his hands. I wish we were videoing this so you could see actually how he keeps me in line.
Well, we're beyond 30 minutes. That means it's got to finish.
Does have to finish. So what's takeaway, Joe?
Takeaway, do stuff outside of what you'd normally do. Look at things from a different perspective. Try something different. Try a different medium. Try a different method.
See what happens.
Try a different place.
Yeah. You just cut off my good last line then. And see what happens. So next week, kind of related to this, I guess, we might talk about letting go of expectations.
We might not, though.
No, because I don't really know what I had in mind when I wrote that sentence. So we'll see. Who knows? If you would like to write a weird little book that breaks the rules, why don't you come and join the next round of Microbook Magic in March? There's already 3 people booked on already, and I haven't even started advertising it yet. The November round was amazing. So many good books come out of it. The January round is amazing. I'm so excited about the books coming out of that. I'm just excited.
It's working.
I'm excited this year. This is the year of excitement. And so come and write a microbook with us in March, like a really teeny tiny book that's going to change somebody's life. It's going to be amazing. It's a good thing to do.
And it's a fun thing to do, isn't it? This isn't like a 9-month commitment of like slogging it away in some, you know, dusty garret. This is have some fun and write something interesting.
Yes. That you want to, that maybe wouldn't get picked up by a traditional publisher, but that's the beauty of it, because A, you don't have to, and B, maybe that's what makes it great. So, cool. Okay. You can also get my free writing prompt calendar from moxiebooks.co.uk/calendar. Oh, if you want to join Microbook Magic, the link's in the show notes, or you can email me, vicky@moxiebooks.co.uk. One day I will make a landing page, but today is not that day. And if you like this podcast, what should they do?
They should subscribe.
Yes.
They should write a review.
Yes, please.
5 stars.
Yes, please.
And you should share it.
Yes.
Send a link to your friends.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'll do. Do that.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. And thank you so much to, I'm still going to keep thanking Harriet until my new VA starts, which is really exciting. So thank you to Harriet for just being incredible. Thank you to Podfly for making us sound slightly more professional than we are and for putting up with my flaky nonsense. Thank you, Joe, for being my amazing sidekick.
No problem.
Thank you to you, dear listener, for listening. And remember, you can send me questions and I will answer them. Or we'll try.
Give it a go.
Yeah, it can be on anything, but you'll get more sense out of me if you ask about writing. Or emus.
Yeah.
Or I've just today got super interested in cephalopods and specifically cuttlefish. Because I love octopuses. Already loved octopuses. You shouldn't eat octopuses. If you do, you're a bad person. But cuttlefish, really interesting.
Okay.
We'll talk
more on this next week.
Yes. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening. Check out the show notes at moxiebooks.co.uk/podcast for links to everything we've mentioned in this episode. Remember to subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. And if you'd like to hear more from Notes in the Margin, you can sign up to get regular emails from Vicky into your inbox at moxiebooks.co.uk/notes in the margin. We'll be back same time next week.